This is the Moonlight Graham Show, a freewheeling conversation with the role players, the underdogs, and guys with flat-out great stories in sports.
Hello and welcome back to the Moonlight Graham Show. This is an impromptu March Madness special. I am so excited for the March Madness tournament this year that I thought, let's do something outside of Tuesday this week. Let's put something out late in the week before the March Madness really gets going to talk about how excited we are for this March Madness tournament. We haven't had it in 24 months, and it is back, folks. And so joining me today are, the great trusted co-host, Tommy Griffin. Tommy, welcome back.
Thanks for having me with fat tire and everything. I feel like a real classy girl.
It's a special day, and we're recording this on St. Patty's Day.
I've got my Irish shirt on.
Tommy's got his Irish shirt on. Ben's got his St. Olaf Tavern. Olaf is Norwegian. He's not Irish. And I got my green on. Big Ben Meyer is back. Got a beer in his left hand. A microphone is right. I think the world is going to be okay.
Thanks for having me, Tim. So excited.
So let's talk March Madness, guys. I think a couple of years ago when UMBC beat Virginia, becoming the first ever 16 seed to beat a 1 seed. We were all over this. And if you guys remember at the time, we actually did a random drawing for a moonlighter out there, a listener out there to host the show. And Scott Westerberg, a moonlighter down in Kansas City, actually won it, and he hosted our show at that time. And it just got me thinking, like, we need to have something for the Moonlight Graham Show, celebrating the underdogs for March Madness this year.
It's the best time of year. It's where the underdogs come to shine, Tim. Absolutely.
So it got me thinking, Tom. I haven't sprung this on you guys yet, but I think if a 14, 15, or a 16 seed wins this year, we got to run it back. We'll do a drawing on Twitter, a random drawing on Twitter where a random moonlighter out there can host the Moonlight Graham Show. So that's the stakes that we're putting on the table for March Madness this year. If a 14 seed, 15 seed, or 16 seed wins a game, we'll send a tweet out there. Everybody that retweets the tweet will have their name put into a hat. We'll draw one name out, and they'll get to host the show. What do you guys think of that?
I think it's a great idea because one of my dark horse teams is a 14 seed.
Ooh, I like
this.
And
so I'm rooting for all the moonlighters out there because I'm rooting for myself.
I think it's a great idea, Tim.
All right.
Absolutely.
We'll bring some beer. We'll bring you guys around, and then we'll have, a random person out there, guy or girl, to host the show. I think this will be a lot of fun.
Pull up another chair.
Before we get to the March Madness stuff, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Dick Hoyt died today. Remember Dick Hoyt, the old guy who would push his son, that he had like
Boston
a disabled son, and he did like 32 Boston marathons. He did a bunch of Ironmans. Dick Hoyt died today. And it got me thinking, watching that Dick Hoyt video, and they had like the Mercy Me song going on in the background, I can only imagine. That's about as hard as I've ever cried in public, watching that. When was the last time you guys cried? Tom, when's the last time you cried?
Oh, my gosh. I am not much of a crier. I'm like an emotional person. Like maybe my tears will well up a little bit or something. But, man, I'm not much of a crier. But I think I do kind of have a bleeding heart a little bit. Like I get pretty sappy, especially I think anything to do with kids. That kills me right away. I think.
Have you cried in this year? Have you cried in 2021?
It's only 3 months in.
Yeah, I don't think so. I got pretty excited. My brother's engaged. My sister-in-law's engaged. So like, there's exciting stuff.
Nothing that warranted tears, though.
I don't think those brought me to tears, though.
Ben, have you cried yet this year?
I have not. I have not cried this year. I don't think people cry as often as you do, Tim.
Yeah. Luckily, Tim's going to bring the average for the room back up.
I cried within the hour.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Absolutely. So, I mean, being emotional is okay.
I was, about an hour ago, I was watching my cousin Greg Flattery was live streaming. It's St. Patrick's Day, like we said. And he was singing a bunch of Irish songs with his family on like the Facebook Live thing. And the songs just reminded me of my grandparents on the Flattery side who are no longer here. And I was just bawling. It was like 6:30 at night.
Tugs the heartstrings.
And I had already had this question on before, and then I cried after I had the question. So you guys haven't cried lately, huh?
Last time I cried was in New York City. We went to the 9/11 museum, and it was doing fine. But then we got to the sports part of it, and Piazza hits the jack.
Oh, yeah.
And the place goes bananas, and I'm crying, and I look over, and my wife, who isn't an emotional person either, she's crying too. And I'm like, we went through this whole thing, and it's all tragedy, but this is what made us cry. It's like, because, I mean, it was a positive in amongst utter chaos, so.
That's right. There were some really magical moments in New York, sports moments. The Bush throwing out the first pitch.
Heck yeah.
The Piazza home run. I mean, the Yankees went to the World Series that year, and they lost on that Game 7 walk-off to Luis Gonzalez.
Arizona,
yeah. And that was a great series.
Yeah. Yep.
So before, I guess, one more thing before we get to the March Madness. Is there anything that you guys need to get off your chest before we get into the March Madness stuff? The last time you guys were here, we had a lot of fun. We had great feedback from the Moonlighters listening out there. Anything that we need to cover before we get into the March stuff?
Gosh, it's just so exciting to be a part of this again. And I'm a little bit more sober than I was last time, but I got a few friends sitting in front of me to help with that. So
I'm still thinking about the crying thing. I think sentimentality. I think I'm a very sentimental person. That's a better word than bleeding heart, perhaps. So I just had a day with my son the other day. We had to get his baseball stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just thinking about
these pictures were really good.
Yeah, I know. Liar, liar, that movie. That's the baseball stuff.
Jose Canseco.
Yeah. And so we get his baseball. Like, we just had the best time picking all this stuff out. And we didn't go crazy or anything like that. I mean, it wasn't like, Blank Check, the movie, another reference. But when we got back in the car, he goes, "This was one of my best days ever, Dad." I'm like,
"Oh,
this is one of my best days ever too, buddy." Like, that was a great moment. And then just since then, he's wanted to play catch pretty much nonstop, which I just really enjoy, and I enjoy it with my daughter Grace too. So like that kind of stuff. And then my wife and I had a moment today. Ooh. We did a little vacation. No, not that kind of moment. And we were playing in the pool at the hotel and stuff. And then we get home, and I just said to my wife, I'm like, we got to enjoy this, because at some point Grace isn't going to want to play with us in the swim pool anymore. And so I'm just having some good parenting moments recently. My wife said we're kind of in a sweet spot, and I was like, yeah, we're in a sweet spot right now.
No tears,
just savoring it.
That are little enough that you're cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, still cool.
Yep.
I watched
real funny.
I watched Interstellar on Sunday, and if you don't cry during Interstellar, then you're.
I've never seen it.
What's wrong with you?
Heartless.
You are heartless. It's unbelievable. All right, so let's get to the March Madness. We're going to talk about our greatest underdogs, upsets, moments in March Madness history. So I was looking up the upsets, the historical upsets in March Madness. We mentioned earlier, UMBC beating Virginia is the only 16 seed ever to beat a 1 seed. I remember before that, like back in when Alonzo Mourning was at Georgetown, Princeton was a 16 seed, and at that time there was a 45-second shot clock. And Princeton slowed the game down and had that backdoor offense, and they had Georgetown on the ropes. Ended up getting beat late, but that was maybe the closest 16-1 game prior to the UMBC beating Virginia game. Then I looked up the all-time 15 seeds beating number 2s. It's happened 8 times. All right, here's the list. Richmond over Syracuse back in 1991. That was the first one. Santa Clara over Arizona in 93. Steve Nash was a freshman on that team. Coppin State over South Carolina in 97. Hampton over Iowa State in 2001. Lehigh over Duke in 2012. Also in 2012, Norfolk State over Mizzou. 2013 was that Florida Gulf Coast over Georgetown year. And then 2016 was the last one with Middle Tennessee State, who probably shouldn't have been a 15 seed. They were really good over Michigan State. Yep. So that is the 15s over 2s. Now, 14s over 3s, that's happened 21 times. I looked that up. Iowa State, of course, got beat by UAB as a 14-3 game. Iowa has got beat by Northwestern State. That was a 14-3 game. And then also UNI was the 14 back in 1990 to beat Mizzou on a last-second three-pointer. So Iowa teams have their hand in all sides of that 14-3 game. When you guys think of upsets in the NCAA tournament, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
The first one that popped into my mind was Florida Gulf Coast University.
Yes.
That was so fun to watch. And I thought about why and how we'd have this conversation. You guys are both basketball guys. I am not a basketball guy, right? I enjoy basketball, but I played it in like 5th and 6th grade.
Tom, you hit some big alumni tournament 3-pointers.
I didn't say I'm not good. I just said I'm not a basketball. Like I coached my daughter's second, third grade team. Yeah, and ice in my veins. And I was telling a story to a buddy who played basketball in college and stuff, and I was like, yeah, they were doing box and one and blah blah blah. I thought the box and one was like an offense too, and then he stops and explains to me that is a defensive set. So that's my basketball wisdom. So I think I really like Florida Gulf Coast because what was the nickname? I couldn't think of the nickname. Dunk U or
they were
Alley Oops.
Dunk Dunk University or something like that. They had some high flyers.
They had those high flyers. Yeah, that's why I liked them so much. They just stuck out to me. They were so fun to watch.
And that guy parlayed that into he's at the USC.
He's at USC now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
super hot wife.
That was his thing.
Good for him.
Supermodel wife, and he used to work on Wall Street. Yep. Remember that whole story?
Yep.
What was his? I liked him as a coach. As Eston.
I won't even try.
Yeah, his name starts with an E. So Tommy, that's a good one. Florida Gulf Coast. The first thing I think of when I think of those upsets is, of course, the heartbreak of Hampton, Iowa State.
Yeah.
Because that Iowa State team, that was the year after Pfizer had left, but then that next year was Tinsley's senior year, and they were even better without Pfizer that next year because Tinsley was unbelievable.
Yeah,
Tinsley was
totally loaded.
So good, and they still had Paul Shirley, Martine Rancic, Cantrell Horton. Like, that was a really, really, really good Iowa State team, and they laid an egg. They got beat by a bad Baylor team in the Big 12 tournament, and then they lost to Hampton, and it was almost like the team was out on Eustace at that point, and they had just mailed in the check. Everybody hated Eustace at that point. But as a young Iowa State fan, that didn't help me out at all.
I'm sure. I just remember, like, they won the Big 12 that year, and then they won then got beat.
They
in
got
the Big
beat
12
first round of the Big 12 tournament.
And then it just was not what you saw happening in that game at all. You're like, I mean, you have essentially the best point guard in the country. And if you want to win the tournament, point guard plays everything, in my opinion.
Is that the one that you think of it as well when you think of the upsets?
It isn't.
Ooh.
I think of the year where Jim Larinaga had George Mason.
Oh, yeah.
And Shaka Smart had VCU.
Yeah, that was a fun year.
In the same Final Four, every bracket was trash. No one had those two teams there. No one knew who they were. Smart parlays that into the Texas gig. Larinaga into Miami.
And both of them have done well.
I
think Shaka hasn't done as well as we thought he would.
No,
but it's almost like he's had so many guys leave to the NBA. Like Mo Bamba left after 1 year. That Mike Kamangali, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce his last name. He's left. Like, they've lost a lot of guys to the NBA, or kind of like what happened to Prom.
Right.
On a smaller scale.
He's got his best group since he's been there now, and they're 4 seed. And Larinaga made a Final Four, I think, with Miami. Shane Larkin, and he had some guys.
So when you watch the NCAA tournament, how do you guys watch it? Because you guys are both Iowa fans, right? So I'm not an Iowa fan, but I obviously watch every game. Like Iowa, that when I was on, that's the game that I circle that I'm going to watch because, I probably watched every Iowa game this year just because Iowa State wasn't worth watching. So I'm going to watch Iowa. I'm going to watch Drake. And then I'm trying to watch as much as I can outside of that, but I'm cheering for the underdog in every game. That's the way I watch I don't cheer for my bracket. I cheer for the underdog in every game if I don't have a horse in the race. What do you guys do?
I think that's the most fun way to watch it. So watching the Iowa game is going to be stressful. I'm not going to pretend I'm the super fan who knows all the stats, but I get into Iowa basketball games and you kind of invest yourself emotionally. If they lose, it just pisses you off. So like that game's different. That'll be fun to watch for a different reason. But just watching the upsets, cheering for a 14, cheering for a 15. If a 16 seed has it close late in the second half, if there's an interesting storyline, they do such a great job with the storytelling.
Yeah.
Early in this, there's a coach, there's a player, there's a story, there's a team, there's whatever. And so it's so easy to like VCU is a good example of that. They didn't come to my mind earlier, but like it was fun to cheer for VCU. Like you wanted to watch. They were doing interviews with the players, and I remember Loyola when they were interviewing
Sister Jean.
They're bringing her back. bringing
That
her,
was so
resurrecting her, if you will.
Sister Jean's 101
101
years old, and she's going to be at the tournament.
So
Yeah.
awesome. But those stories are great. So those things are fun to watch because even though I'm not a Loyola fan or a VCU fan, you can invest in those and obviously cheering for the underdog.
You want to see some familiarity, but you also want these other stories mixed in, and you want, at least I cheer for the underdogs to win, but also you never want to see like two underdogs facing against one another in the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight. You want there always to be like a blue blood Power 5 program that's going up against this chippy underdog, right?
Absolutely. The way I watch the tournament is, obviously I'll watch the Hawks. They're my team. But then I always tune into those 8-9 games, 7-10, and your 6-11s because you're closely matched. But then you always have the ticker in the corner. And if you see a 14 over a 3 or something like that that's ahead, then that's my game.
That's the game, yeah.
And you instantly tune to that. And it's so crazy because when a team gets going and a team gets hot, they might not have as much talent, but it doesn't matter what they do. And, it's so funny to watch this 3 seed that's loaded with NBA guys and just tremendous talent. They can't do anything right, And you're like, they're absolutely crippled. It's so interesting to watch.
Are you a multiple screens guy? Like, do you bring up a TV from the basement and have it next to your TV? Do you have multiple TVs going?
I don't.
Tom?
I like to go to a bar, but I don't.
Yeah, you're more of a bar guy.
I'm a bar guy.
Yeah. We know. St. Olaf Tavern. Free advertisement. No, this year we will be. I think streaming TV has made that so easy now. Like, you don't have to have any skill.
true.
I can just plug in my second TV, and my wife is an awesome sports fan, so we'll have a lot of fun watching that, and the kids will, go along with it and stuff.
You'll indoctrinate the kids.
Yeah, exactly. And I've got a buddy who cancels his schedule and has the traditions. I don't have anything like that where I'm taken off of work. Obviously, I'm a teacher on spring break, but it's just such
Took the whole week off.
Hell yeah, I did. Unpaid though, technically unpaid.
Wink, wink. That's where that stimulus money comes in.
Here we go.
So no, I'm just joking around. No, but so I don't have any of those kinds of traditions. But man, just anywhere you are watching the first 2 rounds are awesome because there's so much excitement. There's so many games. And a lot of times nobody has a horse in the race, right? Like you're watching George Mason play North Carolina or something, and nobody cares.
It's
who
actually
wins.
those games are more fun than the
Exactly.
games when you do have a horse in the race because you're so keyed up and tensed up for those other ones that you're not paying attention to
Exactly.
the other 4 games that are going on. And it's more fun to just watch, and you got your bracket off to the side, but you don't really care about it. And you got these other teams, like maybe they're from the conference that you like or from the conference that you don't like, and it's all happening at once. That's the good part.
Exactly.
Right? But I remember a couple of years ago, I actually had a Moonlight Grand Party at my house, and I think Iowa State was playing Purdue at the time. And I don't know if you remember, but there was somebody who will remain nameless, but he wasn't an Iowa State fan. And when Iowa State came back into the game, he had to leave because he couldn't watch Iowa State win. And Iowa State ended up losing. But do you remember that?
Yes, I know.
And he couldn't even stay for the last 5 minutes of the game, which is hilarious.
What about for you guys, like in college hoops, like you have villains, like I'm not a Coach K guy.
I
You
love
know?
Coach K.
Well,
Okay, I might be I'm okay with Coach K, but I don't like Duke. So if I see Duke getting a pinch, like when Lehigh gave it to him that year, dude, I was all
Everybody
about
celebrate.
that.
That's kind of
All
weird about this year.
that.
There are no Yankees this year, right? Like Duke's
Yeah.
not in.
Duke's out, Kentucky's
KU's
out.
still in.
Kansas, yeah.
KU.
Kansas.
Gonzaga's kind of getting to be that way.
Yeah, but I think Gonzaga's so weird because the West Coast and you don't see them.
Nobody watches them.
I mean, they played.
Can't watch them.
They were scheduled with the Hawkeyes this year, but other than that, like they're West Coast, you don't see them.
Well, that's the other side of it this year is there's been like literally 2,000 less non-conference games this year than any other year. So all of the metrics like KenPom and net rating and RPI, they're all out of whack. You can't trust them at all because there's not enough data points, right? And and then the Pac-12 started their season later, right? And so nobody was paying any attention to the Pac-12 at all because they didn't start till after January 1st. And then a team like Oregon, who Iowa could run up against, didn't even have their point guard through half of the way through their season. And so there's just no way to tell how good these teams are. You have a team like Colgate. Colgate has played against 5 different teams this season. They played against 4 different teams during the regular season. They played each one of those teams 4 times for a total of 16 games.
Yeah, they're 16-1 or
They're
15-1,
like 14
right?
and 2, and then they won the conference tournament or something. So everybody's like, yeah, but Colgate's like number 8 in the net ratings. Like Colgate played Holy Cross 5 times. Seriously.
There's no way to know. We're not going to reveal dark horses yet, but let's just say there's no way to know about Colgate.
Tim's on Colgate.
Well, it's funny that like we have, if there's ever going to be a year that's going to be a complete crapshoot, it's going to be this year because there's no way of knowing, and I hope it is a crapshoot. Like I hope it's not just chalk, right? I hope there's some 13s and 3s and 12 5s and all, or 13 4s, 12 5s that happen because it will make this a lot of fun. And I also take Friday afternoons off. If I can, I do not skip. And so this year I had a meeting canceled for Friday afternoon, which I was not in control of. I thanked my lucky stars, and now I'm not working Friday afternoon.
That's awesome. So going back, just one quick jump back. I had to do some research on this topic of underdogs and all that stuff. I had to do biggest tournament upset. Since I'm not a basketball guy, before like 1975, the field was a lot smaller and you had to win your conference tournament.
48 teams.
There was a year where South Carolina was like the number 2 team in the country and won the ACC regular season but did not win the ACC tournament. And so they didn't even make the NCAA tournament as a top 5 team. So that is my Moonlight Graham biggest upset of NCAA tournament history. A top 5 team didn't even make the tournament. South Carolina, like 1970.
Good deep dive.
Yeah,
Tom.
I got to do the deep dives because I didn't have the basketball IQ.
Tom does the in-podcast research.
No, this was I
He
prepared.
prepped.
Oh, you
I just had to
right.
verify the year.
He's got the whole week off.
Oh my God.
He's
I got the whole
plenty
week
of
off.
time.
Nothing but time.
Literally 2 history degrees. What are you going to do with those
So
things?
outside of the upsets, some of these might be upsets, but what are your favorite moments of March Madness? I wrote a couple of them down. I'm sure you guys did too. But here are the ones that I wrote down. This was just, off the top of my head. It's not that hard to think of these off the top of my head because most of them are in the montage video for before every, CBS when they come on air. But obviously the Farouk Manesh shot, which we've talked about at length here. But then the Bryce Drew one.
I got Bryce Drew.
Bryce Drew, that one before that. I remember watching that live, and it was such a great play. It was such a great full court play that almost everybody's kind of adopted that now, where the guy jumps up, catches it, makes the pass midair to the best player streaking down the sideline. Like Western Kentucky, when they beat Drake, they ran a very similar play than that. That was my next one that I had down, is that Western Kentucky shot against Drake. Tyus Edney for UCLA over Missouri back in the 90s. Obviously, Chris Jenkins for Villanova to win the national title over North Carolina. Marcus Page from Iowa had just hit a shot right before that, and Chris Jenkins then hits one right at the buzzer, something we all dream about. Paul Jesperson for UNI against Texas, another great
This guy
one.
is walking down my list.
That's awesome.
All right, yeah, maybe I'll stop. I'll stop. Ben, what do you got on your list?
So you literally crushed my list.
Sorry.
Which is fine. What about 2 of the best shots that weren't? Okay.
I'm thinking of one of them.
Okay. And you probably have this, but Gordon Hayward, Duke,
Yes.
running, half quarter.
Looked like it was going in.
Oh my gosh, if that ball is 3 inches right, left, or up or down, or change of velocity, it's a bucket, and they win, and they beat Duke, and they're national champs. Butler, which we didn't even mention Butler as our all-time underdogs.
You're right.
They made a final, and they made a Final Four the next year.
Back-to-back years.
Yes. Unbelievable. Brad Stevens, guru. And then the next one I'm going to say is Hakeem Warwick blocked Michael Lee in the final for Kansas when Carmelo won it. And no one talks about that, but he makes that bucket. They win it. And then Collison's a national champ. Heinrich's national champ. And what I always take away from that is they interview those guys afterwards, and Collison was so distraught that he could not give an interview. He couldn't even take a question because he was KU to the bone, and he was Roy Williams to the bone. And that, I think that's the epitome of being an Iowa guy and being an all guts guy. And he's one of my favorite players of all time. Was Nick Collison. I was just so bummed that they lost that game. But those are the 2 shots that weren't.
Tommy, did anything that we didn't name? Sorry, I hogged your list, Ben.
No, I don't have anything.
You had a great list. You had a great
Yeah,
list.
well, that's the point, right? Is the great minds think alike. That's why we're here, is to support Tim and support Tim's ego. No, I'm just kidding. No, I was thinking same things you were. I had to think. I'm not as good with NCAA basketball names as you guys are, so I was thinking of some of those moments. But then I also kind of thought a little bit the way you did, not as in detailed as you did, but like Tinsley misses the shot, had a chance to win the game against Hampton. I don't know. It's not like you fault him for losing that game or something. But yeah, some of those moments that weren't, I kind of thought about it the other way too. Yeah, I think there are so many great last-second shots because those games are so intense. Maybe not this year, obviously, but the crowd is so in. Like, it's just such a nuts atmosphere. It's so high pressure. I think it will be weird with so much of the tournament and
no fans,
Lucas Oil, and no fans. Like, what would it be like to play in a 70,000 or whatever person seat football stadium
with only your parents?
Yeah, and then just having floating basketball hoop. I can't even imagine.
The Big Ten just did it.
Yeah,
it looks
exactly.
it looks and it feels weird.
It slows down the offense.
And
It's just gonna be
the
weird.
NCAA tournament always does feel weird from a fan perspective, though. If you think about it, like the Final Four is always in some football stadium, and it is a little bit bizarre. It is a made for TV event.
Right.
Like it's a lot less like college basketball regular season where it's a made for fans event, right? But I think it's going to be fun. I'm
awesome.
so excited for this tournament.
Man, I mean, the whole thing got taken away from us last year, right? Like ripped out underneath our feet.
All right, so here's the question, guys. Okay, we're seeing a lot of COVID stuff right now, and I just saw Oklahoma. One of Oklahoma's starters has COVID. He's going to be out for at least a week. And it could potentially happen where, like, due to contact tracing, there could be a team with like 8 guys playing, with a chance to go to the Sweet 16. Let's, hypothetically speaking, say you are the team manager at 35, 36 years old, whatever you guys are, and you are the team manager for one of these teams that has 8 players, and you have to suit up as the 9th guy. Say your team then is up by 10 points late in the game, right? And you have to go in. Everybody else fouls out. So you have to go in as the 5th player. How much time needs to be on the clock, Ben, if you're the 5th guy right now in the NCAA tournament for your team not to blow a 10-point lead?
We're up 10.
You're up 10. You're the 5th guy.
I think I could figure out 2 minutes.
Oh, my God. Really? That's it?
I mean, I've watched.
I was going to give you more than that.
I was going to give you more than that.
Oh, my gosh. Up 10? Real college athletes have given it away in 57 seconds.
True.
That's true. But,
So,
a lot has to go right.
Oh, yeah. Lots
You
got to go
never
right.
have to touch the ball.
You never
But
have to.
I'm 37, haven't touched. I haven't been out of breath
So
in 18 months, much less physical activity.
what can you give us? Like, if you're on the court, what do we get? What do we?
Screen. I'll give you a
That's
screen.
where I'm at.
You're going to be open. I'll get you open.
Can
I'm
you
not
box
gonna,
out? Can you put
I'm
a
not
body
going to
on
turn.
anybody?
I'm wiping the glass. I'm wiping the glass.
Now I'm thinking 6 minutes.
Are you kidding
can
me?
go 6.
And I'm going to be in a stance. You'll find me in a stance on defense, and I will be where I need to be.
Will you slap the floor?
God, no, I can't reach the floor. What would I do? I slap the floor, reach it. God,
All right, Ben.
Tom.
If you're on the line, let's say
If it's a front end, get back on defense.
no tie game. Tie game. You get 2 free throws. 1 second left on the clock. You got 2 shots, 2 free ones. What are we expecting?
1 for 2.
You're gonna win it.
Oh, yeah, I'll get you 1.
All right, Tom, same question to you. Not the free throw ones yet, but how much time needs to be on the clock for you to be the 5th guy for, say, Villanova in their first round game? They're up 10. You're the 5th guy. How much time before you blow the 10-point lead?
Well, I would love to go to Villanova. That would be great. Let's just focus on that
You're a
part.
Georgetown guy.
Jay
Well,
Wright.
let's say Georgetown.
All right. So, oh, my God.
Because you are a Hoya.
I am a Hoya. Technically, I am a Hoya. So, now we add a layer because now I've been trained by Moonlighter Mike Hill. So now I'm in peak shape, looking great. My beard will be.
But it's today.
No.
Like,
Damn
it's-
it.
You're in
yeah.
the shape you're in
All
right now.
Mike Hill, I need you, man.
And Patrick Ewing is going to
all
chew
Jordan
your face
gear.
off.
I would look great.
You'd look good.
Okay. I can hustle. Okay, I've been doing that Peloton. I can hustle. I am 5'8.5-ish, 5'9". Okay. my last organized basketball would have been an alumni tournament several years ago.
Made a 3.
Made threes. Maybe probably just one. No, I'll hustle. I'm gonna have a hustle
the
tee on.
question,
How
Tom.
much
How
time?
much time?
before you blow it.
If they're not going to pass it to me, you got 30-second shot clock. Maybe if you can max out a couple possessions, because I'm going to set some hard screens. Okay, I'm going to set some hard screens.
You only get to play offense half the time.
I know. I was going to say 2 minutes was going to be me, but you said 2 minutes, so now I feel like I should go lower than that. Because I'm thinking 2 minutes, you can get 4 possessions where you max out the clock on offense.
How much time, Tom?
You understand? They're coming
say-
down with their hair on fire on offense.
I'll say a minute 30.
Minute 30. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm not going to touch the ball on offense. I'm going to set screens. I'm going to spring a guy.
I think I can get 3 minutes. And I think I can get 3 minutes because
You're in great shape, though.
I think I could, at least stay in front of somebody.
Nope, I can't do that.
Like, I'm not going to hang with anybody, but I could stay in front of them. I'll tell you this. You get on a basketball court against college basketball players, they are so much bigger and longer and more athletic than you have anticipated. The speed of the game would just leave our jaws on the floor.
I'm down to 1 minute now.
But I think I could get 3 minutes only for the fact that 10 points is a lot of points. I think I can at least not blow it. But if it comes down to me,
what are you doing with that free throw? What do you?
I think I'm,
Tim Flattery shooting too.
if I get proper warm up time the night before and the day of, I think I'm making both. I'm making 1 or 2. I'm making 1 or 2. I'm not making both.
Let me walk that back.
the competitor in me is I'd like to say I'm making 1 out of 2.
But
the realist.
if I have to put that ball on the floor against a Division I guard,
I'd rather be on fire than dribble.
if they had to pass it to you, then you're just taking a foul.
yeah. But
You're
I think
really hoping
3 minutes, for the other team to score 10 points in 3 minutes,
4 possessions.
they have to. A lot has to go right for them. So I'm giving myself some benefit of the doubt there.
You think you could keep him in front of you? That's good.
I don't.
know that I'm not.
But I'm
going to grab that kid as he goes by.
Yeah.
in front of, I'm giving him room. I'm just
He's got to shoot it over you.
yeah.
Or
Make
get
it-
fouled.
Make a shot with a hand in your face.
All right. Before we moving on here, I want to talk about the Iowa and Iowa State fan bases just real quick here, because Iowa State's about ready to hire TJ Otzelberger. And I was shocked when I saw social media just already throwing TJ Otzelberger under the bus before they even hired him. I think he's the right choice for the job. I think Pollard has made a ton of really good choices in coaching hires through the years. And I'm just shocked at how splintered the Iowa State fan base has become. I always thought that the Hawkeye fans were way more fickle than the Iowa State fans. And then I saw what they're doing on Twitter and Facebook right now over this Otzelberger hire. And I'm not so sure that the Iowa State fans aren't every bit as fickle as the Hawk fans right now.
It seems like the obvious choice, but I just can't believe how quickly they've turned hot on it and turned cold on Otzelberger. The way that Prom is going out, I think, makes total sense. People are putting a lot of praise on him because people really like him.
Yeah.
And we'll come back to Fran, but
if it wasn't a 2 and 20 year, Prom would still be around.
Right, exactly.
Absolutely.
People like Prom, and there's nothing. He hasn't done anything to make you not like him. He just hasn't won. It's kind of like a Paul Rhodes type situation, but over a shorter time span and maybe a little bit more drastic. But Otzelberger kind of cures the thing Prom was struggling with, right? Otzelberger's the recruiter. Doesn't it make sense that Otzelberger would be that he's got a good reputation? He's an Iowa State guy.
But
Wouldn't he be scratching
Prom
the
also
itch?
recruited pretty well.
Prom's got some recruits.
Yeah, the cupboard's not bare. That's the thing with Iowa
True.
State. Pollard is making it seem like it's going to be a long rebuild. And as long as Otzelberger can keep the recruits coming into Iowa State, can bring a couple of his guys that he had coming to UNLV over, and keep Xavier Foster there, hell, that's pretty darn good.
He's got to start. You literally hired a guy less than 24 hours after you fired a guy.
Well, yeah.
Prom doesn't even have his office packed.
That's the reality of the business, though.
Yeah, but that's pretty that's pretty quick. Did you take some time to consider what your options were?
I think he's been evaluating those options for probably the last 2 years. I think that's just the reality of the business. Pollard,
but Otzelberger hasn't tore up at UNLV.
No,
He's been me.
I agree with that. That's the concern. He's got good recruits coming in. I think the question is, can Otzelberger coach or can he just recruit?
Great point.
He had success at South Dakota State, but he had Mike Dahm at South Dakota State.
Right.
Mike Dahm was so good.
And he took over a loaded team.
Yeah.
There.
So, but I think Otzelberger makes the most sense. And I guess my point is not whether Otzelberger makes sense or not. I was just so surprised at how many Iowa State fans were already throwing this guy under the bus before he's even been hired. That was the surprising thing to me. That seemed to me like a Hawkeye thing to do rather than a Cyclone thing. But maybe I'm just finally seeing something for what it is.
People are grumpy though.
People are grumpy.
They're 2-21. It's a pandemic. The team has been a joke for 2 seasons. So,
well, on the flip side of that, though, okay, Iowa's having the greatest year in Iowa basketball history so far.
I don't know about that.
Preseason,
they went to a
five,
Final Four.
Finished the season number 5.
They had a great year. Hawks had a great
they've never done a regular season like that before, and yet 3 weeks ago, the Fire Fran train was in full force, as much force as it's been in a long time.
When they got absolutely undressed by Michigan, I was absolutely fuming.
Yeah,
at this team,
and all Hawk fans were, and Chris Hassel and all these other Hawk fans online were have been going crazy about Fran, and it's like, what do you? Okay, Fran's a pretty unlikable guy.
I don't like Fran.
He's kind of a jerk, but he's a really good basketball coach. I mean, he's had a ton of success at Iowa. I'll say that.
Yeah. He's done okay at Iowa. But, I mean, this team's got a ton of holes. They lack athleticism.
What else do you want, though?
You want to talk about keeping people in front. This team can't keep people in front. They can't take anybody off the dribble. They struggle to rebound at times. And if they don't make shots for a little while, they're in trouble.
They're a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament, though.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
But, but I guess when is the fan base happy if they're not happy when they're a 2 seed?
Are they ever happy? I mean,
no.
Ferentz gets fired every year too, and he's been there for 20 years.
I just said all that stuff,
Ferentz
and I
has
love
reached
this team.
emeritus stage now, though.
I mean, there was
5 years ago
after the Tennessee Bowl game. I was like, oh, okay, something's got to change. The Tax Slayer Bowl a few years ago, but I think that's part of the fan base kind of thing, and I think it's exacerbated by social media, which I feel like anytime we get together, that's one thing we talk about is how bad social media truly is. But I think part of the Fran thing is that Fran is not likable. Like Prohm was so likable. You're like, all right, 2-20, but he's trying really hard. We like him.
Yeah,
but
Fran's just abrasive.
Yeah, there's just not much to like about it. It's not like
great hair.
Well, the glasses. Who picks out his glasses? His wife needs to talk to him. I think he's got dumb looking glasses. But anyways.
He has a lot of screaming timeouts too.
Yeah.
I think in today's age, people are like, why do you have to scream? You don't have to scream during the timeouts. Coaching's not like that, but I mean.
Well, when's the last time you took a team to a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament, Ben?
True. Absolutely. Sometimes people got to get yelled at. I've got yelled at a lot in my life.
No, I just think the Hawkeye fans, it is winning cures everything, right? If you win, that's all that matters. I think Fran does not do himself any favors. So Fran's leash is a lot shorter. But he starts winning. He gets the 2 seed. He gets the extension. He's going to be here for another decade. I don't know how many more sons he has, but hopefully they keep coming along so they get that free education. But yeah, I just think the same kinds of things that are true for every, I was going to say franchise, but for every program is like everybody is so invested. They're so hot and cold. Otzelberger, if he does get officially named, people are going to be super excited and tell all these stories about how he's going to make a difference. If Fran, has a crappy year next year, everybody's going to want him fired again.
People need to chill out.
Yeah.
Fans
That's the
need
recipe.
to chill out. Mm-hmm. Every loss is not the end of the world.
No.
Every hire is not the worst hire ever. Just take a deep breath and chill out. It's frickin' college sports.
Grab some fat tires. Sit in the Pottery Barn showroom that is your friend's house.
Oh, my God. This room is amazing.
This room is amazing. I kind of don't want my wife to ever see it. And just relax. Just get off social media because that's where all the hot and cold is. And when you remember that that's such a small minority of what ideas are actually out there, it helps you remember, like, this is only the intense. That's the advice from the Moon Graham Show. I hope everybody's having a great night. Take care, everybody.
All right. How far did Drake and Iowa go? Tom?
That's a tough question. I think Iowa wins their first game. I think the second game is really tricky because it could be Oregon, who's a good team. I would love to say they were winning too.
The Billustrator over here.
Yeah.
I was looking at the bracket because I was
deep
preparing
in his research.
Well, but again, coming back to my dark horse, let's not get ahead of ourselves. I think Iowa can win 2 games, but I also realize that that's asking a lot for Iowa to win 2 games. It would be they should win the first. It'd be tough to win the second. I don't know if they can win 3.
Tom hates Fran. Ben, what do you think?
I got the Hawks winning 2 games.
So you have them losing to
They're
who's
gonna-
that third game?
I
got it
like
right
him.
here.
I think they're going to get beat by Kansas. Bill Self's he's a good coach and he's got good players, and those are not a good mix for the Hawks. I have Drake winning their first 4 game and their first round game. I like Drake. I've been on Drake since I started paying attention to him. They've got some guys. They're athletic. They're fun to watch. They play a fun style of basketball.
I've got Iowa, and maybe this is classic because you guys are Iowa fans, so of course you like underplay how good you think Iowa's going to be. And I'm not an Iowa fan. I think Iowa gets to the Elite Eight.
Oh, wow.
I think Iowa gets to the Elite Eight.
Against?
Gonzaga. Which
They'll
is bad
run
for-
into Gonzaga.
Oh, Gonzaga. Yep, sorry, I was
they'll
back
play
around. My bad.
Kansas in the Sweet 16. The Oregon game, I think, is the biggest question. Obviously, I haven't seen Oregon play at all, but like they're the hot pick. Like you listen to sports talk radio and stuff, everybody's on Oregon right now. I have no idea. Nobody has any idea. Jay Billis and Dan Dockich and all these Seth Greenberg, they don't have a clue either. So like, quit watching them and don't take their opinions for anything because nobody knows. I think Drake wins the play-in game and then gets beat. Is how I think they beat Wichita State. How great are these play-in games, by the way?
Right.
UCLA,
It's a good set
Michigan
of play-in
State
games.
against Drake and Drake, Wichita State. I've never been more interested in the play-in games.
That's exactly what I was going to. That's why I have Drake winning one, is because it's Wichita State. I think that's a kind of a cool story. It's a good team for them to beat. But yeah, I think Drake is probably wins one. So are they technically one and done? I mean, we did this with the Hawkeyes like 8 years ago or whatever. The playing game counts. Drake's
The play-in
in.
game counts.
They have one win in
You're
the
in the
2021
tournament. Yep.
tournament, but they don't make it out of the round of 64.
I think you watch Michigan State too. That team has talent, and they have Tom
Everybody
Izzo.
keeps saying that. They can't score.
But they can stink sometimes. Yeah, they can stink. But like, they beat 2 top 5 teams within a week.
Billustrator.
Well, have you seen them in Ken Palm?
I just hate their net rating.
They're the sabermetrics on them. The Billy Bean.
All Ken Palm is it's an avenue for confirmation bias for Big Ten fans.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I mean, seriously, because Ken Palm has the Big Ten. If you look at his weights,
It's the
he's
best conference.
He's got it weighted
So-
like a loss to a Big Ten team is worth more than a win against any other team ever. So like Ohio State lost 4 games in a row at one point and didn't move in the Ken Palm. They were like number 6. It's like, yeah, but look at Ken Palm, and it's like, yeah, it's a freaking confirmation bias, self-fulfilling prophecy here. It's a mess,
And it's
Anyway.
right.
And it's
The Big Ten is
absolutely
the
right
best conference
if
this
you
year.
talk to all the Big Ten fans. All right, upset picks. Tommy?
Okay, so you've already kind of shared a little bit about mine. My upset pick is in the South region, number 14, Colgate against Arkansas.
Yeah.
It really is. First of all, Colgate, just great name, right?
Yeah.
They invented toothpaste or something over there.
I think so.
But no, again, weird season. You don't know anything about them. Like
They played Holy Cross 5
They played
times.
Holy Cross. Well, we know that. So that's my upset pick. The SEC basketball is so weird, anyways. I know, like what Alabama won it. They're supposed to be really good. SEC basketball is just kind of an enigma because I never really know how serious to take it, and I'm
Right.
not a basketball guy, so I don't follow it all year. So it's against Arkansas. Colgate's my upset pick, but I only have them winning one because if they win against Arkansas, they would play either Texas Tech or Utah State, and I mean everybody knows those Aggies of right Utah State Aggies,
Coached by
Yeah,
Craig
very nice.
Smith.
Craig Smith, or Texas Tech would be a tough team to beat. So
Joseph Smith's son, or great-grandson, but he fell away from the Mormon church, and so
But-
he doesn't go to BYU anymore. That's why he went over to Utah State.
Fun fact.
fun fact: you
Wow.
come for the jokes, you stay for the information.
That's not true at all, folks. It's a guy with the last name
Nope.
Smith from
Ken
Utah.
Palm actually said that's
Oh,
exactly
yeah.
what happened.
Yeah, Ken Palmer, I like that one. Ben, who's your upset pick?
I have North Carolina going deep in this tournament.
What an underdog story.
They're an 8 seed. They're an
The
8
Tar
seed.
Heels.
Beating Wisconsin, Wisconsin's good.
They're an 8 seed.
I mean, Ben, come on.
But they're not good.
They were like in the top 10 at one point this season.
But they're not now.
But they're like, that's the worst underdog pick of all time.
I mean, I just said I have Michigan State going deep.
Tom had Colgate.
That pick
You
is
have
horrible.
North
No, it's not. That's a
gonna,
great pick.
He's going to have to eat that here in 2 days.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
I'm not.
we're
Because everybody's going to be like, that was
We'll
Colgate.
never let Tom live that one down.
Colgate bloodbath. Write it up.
I
I have Arkansas in the Final Four.
I've got a
What do you got, Tim?
Winthrop going to the Sweet 16 in your face.
Dunk.
Winthrop has never won a first-round game.
Is that true?
That is true.
Well, 2021's been an unprecedented year.
Unprecedented. God, I can't believe it took us so long to get that word in. That should be the title of this episode.
All right, we're 18 fat tires deep. We just got to our quarantine takeaways segment. So the way we're wrapping up this episode is, quarantine is wrapping up here. The pandemic, we see the light at the end of the tunnel.
The light is at the end of the tunnel.
Governor Reynolds just announced.
Did you just call her Governor
I was
COVID?
about
I thought you were going to say Governor Cuomo.
I
was
thought
good
we
on
weren't
that,
getting
too,
political.
I
Didn't
was
we
going to
agree?
call her COVID Kim as a joke, and then I thought better of
because
it.
she needs another beating.
And,
Let's not get political, guys.
so COVID light at the end of the tunnel. We're all going to be past this soon. So we won't have this quarantine to talk about here in a couple of months. So it's wrapping up. Over the past 12 months since we've been in quarantine, what are the highs and the lows? What are the, did you fall into a show? Did you start reading a book? Did you pick up another hobby? What are the, lasting impressions of the quarantine, Tom?
I think so. This will be interesting to hear from you guys. We talk about our kids a lot because this is a family program. It really is, minus all the beer we're drinking right now and the fact that our wives are taking care of all of our kids. But it is a family program. I think a blessing of COVID has been my wife stays home and our kids are old enough to be super fun, but not old enough that they know that they're missing out on the world. Like every once in a while, they realize they can't go to restaurants. But we've had a great year of tons of family time playing. I mean, it's been... that has been a huge silver lining. I've gotten to spend more time with my kids and do more stuff than I ever would have.
Dad of the year right there.
Well, you guys have got the brand new babies.
What about, did you watch a show?
Yeah, there's that stuff too. Come on.
I mean,
seriously.
what was the best show or...
And I don't know if this is really off the beaten path. Probably the best show that I binged or whatever over COVID was The Last Kingdom on Netflix. It's like Vikings and warriors and kings, and it's kind of it's kind of loosely based. There's some real history mixed in, but it's just like a lot of blood and guts and cool names. And
Emmy like it?
Watched a lot of it without the kids. Those were those
The blood
times when the
and
kids were
guts?
napping. I just talked about how much time I spent with my kids, except for the 82 hours of Last Kingdom I watched.
Ben?
We had an okay year too. I'd say highs were, dance parties in the living room.
Oh.
We turn on Pandora on the TV and the 2-year-old gets loose, mom gets loose, dad gets loose. I've got some video. It's very funny, very funny. And, we got to know our state parks. Jester Park was a place that we spent a ton of time. Kiddo likes to go look at the elk, and there's trails. And have you ever heard of the book, We're Going on a Bear Hunt?
Oh, yeah.
We always say, hey, do you want to go on a bear hunt? And she's like, yeah, I'll go on a bear hunt, get all pumped up.
That's awesome.
And so that was kind of some of our highs. Shows that I got into. Pretty Little Lies.
Oh, God.
I'm embarrassed to say
I
it,
don't
but
know
I'll
that one.
say it. Little Fires Anywhere.
Oh, my God.
I don't know that one either.
Who is running the remote in your house?
I Have a Wife.
I don't know.
Schitt's Creek.
That's a great one. I enjoy Schitt's Creek.
These are all Tory shows.
Well,
Tori
I'm
has
sorry,
good taste on Schitt's
Tim.
Creek for sure.
Schitt's Creek is very funny. And Last Man Standing is a show that I just started watching.
That's the Tim Allen one, right?
Yeah,
I haven't seen that one
it's
yet.
pretty good. It's pretty good.
So I think Tori watched those first 3 shows: Schitt's Creek,
Is Tori joining the show?
Little Fires Everywhere, and then that other one that you said. There was a lot of bad shows throughout quarantine. The one that I did like was that Alone. So
I like Alone a lot.
Right at the start of quarantine, I got into Alone, and I was just fascinated by that show. We had Lucas Miller from Alone here on the podcast. Out of all the crap that I watched, Alone was the one that I liked. For a couples one, I had watched Cobra Kai like when it first
Yes.
came out.
Loved Cobra Kai.
And then I convinced Tori, I'm like, Tori, you know, we struggled with what shows can we watch together? Because there were like these Tori shows and then Tim shows. And I was like, Tori, I've already seen the first 2 seasons of Cobra Kai. I'll rewatch those first 2 with you because I think you'll like it when the 3rd season was coming out. And then we can watch the 3rd one together. And then by episode 4, she was in on it. And like that was a fun couples show for us. And then, but my other highs and lows of quarantine were the high was Tori was pregnant throughout basically the entire quarantine, which was great to be home together. And then
Wait, did you say high or low?
That was.
I'm just kidding. She's in the room. I'm just
and
kidding.
and then we had Fitz during the pandemic, which was great. Empty hospital, awesome.
Yeah.
Like I think people at the start of it were like, "Oh my god, we can't have our family at the hospital." Us was like, "This is awesome."
Huge advantage.
Like
had a
we
kid
got
too.
spoiled.
It was best.
Yeah, it was awesome. And so that has just been a huge highlight. The low, I was thinking about this the other day. The low for me has been like I'm getting to my mid-30s. I'm getting to the time where you don't play like rec sports anymore. And I feel like I had it taken away. Like I feel like my retirement hit me and I didn't even know it.
Oh.
Right? Because of the pandemic, right? Because I haven't played flag football or basketball or any of these sports in so long. And now it's like, oh my God, did I retire? Because if you don't play basketball for 2 years, it's a lot to like go out and play basketball. You're thinking about all the injuries and all this stuff. Flag football, I don't know if I'll ever do that again. So like the low for me has been like the question mark of whether I'll ever play
Wow.
like basketball or flag football again.
I feel like that's a big moment you just had there.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because you truly enjoy that stuff.
Oh, it keeps me up at night.
I walked away from rec basketball. I was like clipping my fingernails.
I don't know
See you
what that
later.
phrase means. I've never heard that, but I'm going to use it.
I didn't even blink. I was like, oh, nice. So I don't have to go anywhere on Sundays anymore. Lucky.
That's awesome.
I was like,
So-
let's have some more chicken wings. We'll be fine.
So enjoy your March Madness watching out there. As a reminder, guys, if a 15, 16, or 14 seed wins in the NCAA tournament, we're going to make a social media post. If you retweet that post, you will be entering your name into potentially hosting the Moonlight Graham Show. And so that's kind of the big announcement for today. Enjoy March Madness. Cheer for the underdogs. And thank you for listening to the podcast. Hey guys, thanks once again to listening to today's episode of the Moonlight Graham Show. And even though I do most of the interviews here on the podcast, there is a ton of work that happens behind the scenes that you guys don't see that make each episode possible. So I got to give a shout out to the Moonlight Graham Show team. First of all, Brian Sandvig, our producer. Brian does all of the post-production work, and in real life, he's not just a podcast producer, he's also a real estate agent. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home down in the Kansas or Missouri areas, give Brian Sandvig a call. Next guy on that list is Brendan Gargano. Brendan does all of our design and artwork here on the podcast. He's one of the most talented artists I've ever met, and I love all of his work. If you need any help on the design side with logos or anything like that, give Brendan Gargano a call. The next guy on that list is Andy Flattery, my older brother. Andy, of course, has done some of the interviews here on the podcast. He also is a certified financial planner. He owns a business called Simple Wealth Planning. If you need any help in that area, check Andy Flattery out. And then, of course, the trusty co-host Tom Griffin and my younger brother Neil Flattery. Those guys are just busy being husbands, being fathers, they're family men, but also they do a ton of work here on the show. So thanks again for listening. We really appreciate you guys subscribing and supporting the Moonlight Graham Show.